Now, I believe you also written a book on Sufis and transgenders, is that right?
There was so much going on in Pakistan, elections, politics, terrorist attacks. And I have given it the title, Sufis and Transgenders, Children of a Better God.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PJME's official YouTube channel. As you've seen a lot of internationals here, you've seen journalists, politicians, writers, and of course sportsmen. Today I have a journalist from Netherlands. She started her career in 1964 and she's a writer, anthropologist, and of course one of those people who promote tourism. And she started village tourism here in Pakistan, and I thought, why not speak to her and get an outside view of what is going on in Pakistan, how is Pakistan faring, because if I say, hey, Pakistan is great, everybody would probably say, PJ, you yourself a Pakistani, what are you talking about? So I've got Wilma here, and I thought, have a little conversation with her. So Wilma, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Now tell me, how long have you been here in Pakistan?
Officially, I'm living here now for 5 years, but I was also as a correspondent for the Dutch National Radio and Television for a long time based at the other side of the border in India. So you can say since 2006, I am coming to Pakistan. So that's already for a long time.
Great. And how long? Before that, were you coming over to the country?
Now, since 2006, it is now 2020. That means that more than 14 years. At the time I was based in Delhi, there was so much going on in Pakistan, elections, politics, terrorist attacks. So it was every time a reason for the Dutch television to send me with a camera team to Pakistan. But since 1 year, I'm out of this business. I was for more than 25 years a journalist, so I was thinking it's time to do something else, to do something happy, to do something what I really like to do. I'm a nature lover, and to be honest, I think your Pakistani rural areas are one of the best in the world.
And what are you doing about it?
What I do is I try to promote, and that's not so easy in Pakistan because I see you have two worlds. Pakistan is urban life and Pakistan is village life. Even most of you are all born in a village, your roots are in the village, but there is something going wrong in your life, or because you have the perception that villages are dirty, people are not educated. And how can you have a nice holiday there? Now, I would say just climb the Makalla Hills for, let's say, 10 minutes. You go to, ever heard about Kokina, Talhar? That are beautiful villages in a stream where you can walk, where you can do all kinds of treks. You don't have to go that far, but I've traveled now since, let me say, for 1 year. I've done my research. I travel around Islamabad now. I came across, I would say, really paradises, especially after the Ghanpur Lake, if you cross the Haro River.
Now, I believe you also written a book on Sufis and transgenders, is that right?
Yes. I've worked for the 2 years, I think almost 3 years on this book. It's a combination about Sufis and transgenders, and I have given it the title, Sufis and Transgenders, Children of a Better God.
Okay, and what was the reaction of the book?
I think most of the people, it's first published in Dutch, and now I'm working on a translation in English. I think I'm optimistic, let me say optimistic. I've been to many Sufi shrines. I've spoken with people in the Sufi shrines about, I even brought transgenders with me and asked them the question, what do you think about them? People who go to the Sufi shrines, and there are a lot of Pakistanis, according to their opinion, transgenders are children of Allah. Because they say they don't have a gender, Allah doesn't have a gender, they are very connected with Allah.
Quite right, quite right. You see quite a lot of them in Bois de Boulogne in Paris. if you've been there.
They're all over the world, but I think here in Pakistan, I saw in India also. If you look at the history, they have a special position. They always at the Mughal courts. Later on, if you go very, very, very back in the history, but look at your most beautiful. He was a Sufi. He is a poem. He made the most beautiful songs. Your Bolusha. I went to Kasur to his Sufi shrine. He was living with transgenders. He was living with prostitutes because he wanted to get in the skin of these people. He wanted to know how they are. And because of their strict relation, their strong relation with these people, he felt also that he had a strict relation with Allah. So I think if you go back to your roots of Pakistan, your roots are the Sufis, your roots are the Sufi shrines, and they are the most liberal, positive, happy person. So that means that's your Pakistani culture. And that's what you should more and more promote instead of always the same stories.
Very correct. Now, I want to see Pakistan from a different window, and that window is you. So I want to know that now, of course, you've been living in India and now you're here. So you've seen two windows. So what are the comparisons between the two windows?
If you cross the border at Warka, and you are in Pakistani Punjab or you are India Punjab, I always make the joke that at your side of the border you eat meat, and the other side of the border they eat vegetables, because you are from it's the same culture, because you were once the British subcontinent. You see that many people from nearby the border, the Muslims went to Pakistan during partitions, and the Hindus went to India. When I lived in Delhi, my landlord, he came from Lahore. Every time when I came back from Pakistan, he was already in his 80s. He was waiting for me. He wanted to hear everything about what was going on in Pakistan. So I think if you go to the basic, if you go to the ordinary people, they still feel that they are brothers and sisters from each other.
So you don't think that this perception created by, let's say, enemies of the state of India and Pakistan, that the person, an ordinary person, whether in Pakistan or India, they don't have that one-to-one animosity. Do you agree or not?
No, they don't have this hate. They don't have this hate. They still, the generation who left India, the generation who left Pakistan, a lot of them are still alive. They have always, and I've spoken with many of them, they always told the children, the grandchildren, good stories about where they came from, how beautiful the country was. Of course, there's a change now. That's what I also saw when I was my last year in India. This whole BJP movement of Modi. But don't forget, it's a small group, and still most of the Indian people don't want this. I think sometimes, and it's also a reason I didn't want to be a part of this journalism anymore. It's always this bad stories, these sensational stories, instead of making nice cultural stories. I think if we want to get peace in the world, if we want to bring people together, tell stories about how people are living, what they are eating, what they are reading. I think that's much better than always these hate stories.
And what about the Kashmir story? Did you ever come across that?
I've been many times to Indian Kashmir. And I have to say, it's one of the most beautiful places. When I was a backpacker, I think in my 90s, the first time I went to Kashmir, I was so impressed. So beautiful. When I became a correspondent, the first visit I wanted to do was going back to Kashmir on these wooden boats in the Dal Lake. But to be honest, that was a place where I never could make a positive story. There it was, and still, if I speak with my friends in Kashmir, how many people are missing, how many women are raped, still how many soldiers are there. And that's one of the most saddest stories I ever did. I think so many army is still there, and the world, it looks like the world is not interested in Kashmir.
And why is that, Wilma? Because, as you say, the world is not interested. You see anything which happens in Europe or in the Middle East, the whole world is, absolutely glued on to the television. But here in Kashmir, you've seen everything. And I'm sure you know better visuals than perhaps what we get here. So why is it that the world doesn't take any interest in it?
Because Modi is the prime minister of a huge country, a giant. And he is very smart in making deals. Even the United States, all big countries who wants to do business in India, he has told them, you only can come inside India. That's with one option, with one point is don't intervene in our business. Even Barack Obama, when he became almost the president of the United States, at that time you had this Holbrooke. Holbrooke was almost already the special envoy for Kashmir. And also Obama stopped with the plan because the American multinationals were telling Obama, if you're going to intervene in Kashmir, we can forget a market with more than 1 billion people. Money talks, no human rights, money.
Money talks, but how long do you think it'll continue to talk when we see precious human lives, no matter who they are, no matter what religion, what culture, what ethnic background? I mean, how long can we see this going on?
In Kashmir, I think Modi is playing a smart card, also during Corona. The world is only busy with themselves. What he is doing now is it's open now. Before, only people from in Kashmir were allowed to buy land, but now also the Hindus from all places from India can come. He even gives them extra money to settle there. So what you will see it will take a generation, but then the Hindus will be the majority, the Muslims will be the minority, and they have nothing to say anymore.
Do you think Pakistan lacks international exposure as far as Kashmir is concerned? Because as you say, the world doesn't take any notice. So naturally, we might be failing somewhere to present a case in a very logical manner.
I think Pakistan has done a lot. This Minister of Foreign Affairs, Qureshi, has traveled the world, has spoken with all kinds of international organizations. There are Al Jazeera is still very active in Kashmir. Look also at the mobile phones what the people from Kashmir are sending. I think you even don't need all kinds of talks. We know what's going on there. Everybody knows what's going on there. But what I told you, it's nobody's interested in such a small place in Kashmir. I don't know if it's also a reason that we are talking about Muslims, but I think the most important reason is India is still an emerging country, and there is still a huge market to get. So why should we talk about human rights?
Absolutely. Now, on the Pakistani side, what would be your independent view as far as the northern areas of Pakistan are concerned?
How do you mean that?
Well, I mean, we've got places like Gilgit, Baltistan, Skardu, and, Chitral, Naran, Kagan, all those places up there. What kind of a potential, if you've been there, you see there?
There is a lot of potential. I've been many times there, but my concern with the northern areas is that there are so many tourists going to this place, especially when you've been to Naran, you've been to Kagan. Then you see in the summer that it's overcrowded. People just can spend the night in a tent for 500 rupees. That means everybody can go there.
Thank you very much for your time, and it's good to know that, of course, there's an independent view, well, a positive one, from somebody who doesn't belong to Pakistan. Ye thi Wilma Maten, journalist, writer, anthropologist. आपने इनकी बातें सुनी, ये एक independent view था, and I hope we get peace in this area, because at the end of the day we need peace regardless of any हमारी animosity क्या है, ये हर चीज़ ठीक नहीं हो सकती है, why not? And I think both Pakistan को दरवाज़ा हमेशा खुला है. I think India needs to open up the doors and really work for peace between the two countries and regional peace. वो जब हम करेंगे आप देखोगे कि उसके अंदर ये सारा रीजन, दुनिया इधर आएगी, हमने जाने की ज़रूरत भी नहीं पड़ेगी. Until the next time, look after yourself. Please subscribe to the channel. And finally, Khuda Hafiz.